the second day of Formula One testing in Barcelona as teams continue their preparations ahead of the new season that's now just under 4 weeks away. Let's go live to Craig Slater at the Circuit de Catalunya. Morning to you, Craig. Who should we be looking out for today?
We've had about 20 minutes running already on the circuit. Not too many changes in the cockpit, but I suppose amongst the bigger names, this is Lewis Hamilton's first run out here this week in the new Mercedes. We saw him arrive at the track this morning, just had a quick cup of coffee, looked in pretty buoyant mood, and he was encouraged by Nico Rosberg's performance in the car yesterday. Rosberg topped the timesheets here with a couple of quick laps on the medium tyres late in the day. However, there were one or two reliability issues again with the Mercedes. Gearbox trouble this time, and Hamilton will hope for more laps and to avoid that kind of thing today. Probably some of the best conditions of the week we'll get here today. If you take a look up there, you can see the sun just peeping out. It is cold here. Tyre temperature very much an issue in terms of testing, in terms of what the teams will do to get their data to work on for the start of the season. Sebastian Vettel was noting that it was too cold yesterday to get any proper idea about how the tyres were performing. However, we expect the temperatures to get up to 16, maybe 18 degrees in the afternoon. And with this Vettel's last run out of the week, you would think he'll probably undertake some kind of race simulation, as several of the teams will be doing. So a very important day here at the circuit today.
Fernando Alonso, I gather, drove his 2013 car for the first time yesterday. How did he get on?
It's very interesting that you could say perhaps mixed messages from Fernando Alonso after he came back. He did 110 laps. A lot of circuit checks initially as he familiarised himself with the new equipment. But afterwards, although he said, yes, this is a car we can win the championship and we're in a far better position now than we were at the same stage last year, he also said that the car wasn't really that much different from the one that raced in Brazil. And if you consider that several of the other teams are already saying their cars are better than the ones that finished last season with, you wonder what kind of position exactly Ferrari are in. They are going to bring fresh upgrades to the final Barcelona tests and fresh upgrades for the first race of the year itself in Melbourne, but clearly from what Alonso is saying, he thinks there is more work to be done. We do now have, I suppose, all the ingredients of the season now that Alonso is here, and that the final 2013 car was unveiled as well. We saw the new Williams yesterday. That's been the main technical story of the week thus far. The issue of their exhaust and Caterham's exhaust as well. Exhaust technology central to last season in terms of the leading team's performance. They were looking to get some kind of benefit from the way the exhaust fumes were blown out at the rear of the car. However, FIA rules stipulate that the exhaust cannot be set up in a way that its primary aim is as an aerodynamic aid, and the FIA made it clear to Williams yesterday the way that they have configured their exhaust at the moment contravenes that rule as far as they're concerned. Williams are seeking clarification on that, but we are now starting to see the little gizmos that the teams are looking to add to their cars for the beginning of the season. So the plot thickening day by day here.
Thank you very much, Craig. It's the
second day of Formula One testing in Barcelona as teams continue their preparations ahead of the new season that is now just under 4 weeks away. Let's go live to Craig Slater at the Circuit de Catalunya. Morning, Craig. What's the story of testing so far?
Well, the story today is that we're probably enjoying what will be the best conditions of the week, and the times are reflecting that. On average, everyone's about 0.2 of a second quicker than they were at the same point yesterday. Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton have all been exchanging the top time on the timesheets. Vettel's just gone quickest in the last 10 minutes, a time set on medium tyres, but we've been following Lewis Hamilton quite closely today. It was a day of measurement tests, largely, initially at least for him. We saw him coming in and out of the pits. He would conduct a couple of laps, then he'd make slight adjustments and then go out again, and the difference would be measured, all under the watchful eye of team principal Ross Brawn. But his times have been interesting. He set his fastest lap of the day on the second lap of an 8-lap run on a hard track. No one seems to have had much problem getting temperature into their tyres. The issue has been making the tyres last. And interestingly, over those next 8 laps, Hamilton's times fell off by 4 seconds. I mean, the teams are effectively trying to find the limits of the tyres here to see where that drop-off point is. And they can adjust their cars accordingly. But Hamilton's second fastest as we speak at the moment, Vettel quickest. An interesting developments in the Red Bull garage. They're operating a traffic light style system for their pit stops. They've done some pit stop rehearsals today. You remember this traffic light system pioneered by Ferrari back in 2008 with some disastrous results initially, but McLaren in particular made a great success of it last season, bringing down their average pit stop time to around the 3 second mark, and setting a world record for a pit stop in the Hockenheim Grand Prix with Jenson Button's car, where they got them in and out with a stationary time of just 2.31 seconds. McLaren reckon sub 3 second pit stops can be the norm this season, so the other teams are having to watch them on that, and Red Bull, as I say, copying their traffic light system to try and get close to those McLaren times. But good conditions today. They're going to set to improve again. We should have sunshine all day, and I think that should mean that in the afternoon we'll see a lot of the teams go out for race simulations.
Great, thanks for now, Craig. Second in Barcelona as teams continue their preparations ahead of the new season that's now just under 4 weeks away. Well, let's go live to Ted Kravitz at the Circuit de Catalunya. Morning, Ted. Let's start off with Lewis Hamilton. He's been out in his new Mercedes. How's he been doing this morning?
Rachel, much better day for Lewis Hamilton than the last time he stepped into his Mercedes for the first day of a Spanish test, which was back in Jerez, when he crashed it into the wall after about 160 mile an hour brake failure. But he's doing really well. Actually, it's a lap time for second quickest of the day, which will make the people at Red Bull Racing, whose garage we're just waiting outside here, as you can see the autograph hunters waiting for Sebastian Vettel or Mark Webber. Hamilton's lap time will really make Red Bull sit up and take notice, crucially because it was set on what's supposed to be the slower tyre. It's the hard tyre. It's meant to be the more durable tyre, and it is, so say the tyre manufacturers, meant to be slower than the soft tyre, which is what Sebastian Vettel of Red Bull set his quickest time on. So a really impressive lap by Lewis Hamilton, but it should be said he is a bit of a specialist around this Barcelona track. He's won here before, he's been on pole position, would have been on pole position last year, but for a fuel irregularity that put him to the back of the grid. So yeah, I think there's positivity coming out of Mercedes this afternoon here in Barcelona.
And yesterday, Fernando Alonso, he said that his 2013 car still needs improvements, but he's relatively confident that it's good enough to challenge again for the title. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, Alonso cut a slightly underwhelmed figure, actually. I think he was expecting a bit more from the Ferrari. He got into it and he found, as in his words, that it was a continuation of the car that he had in Brazil at the end of last season. Now, that car was pretty good. It came second in the race, but only because Sebastian Vettel had a spin and went to the back of the grid. Ultimately, Sebastian Vettel managed to win the World Championship. So I got the feeling that Vettel really wanted to step into the Ferrari for the first time and feel, wow, this is a big improvement from last year. Maybe the car has found a second per lap, and instead he's found that they've found a little less than that. But the point that he made, absolutely crucial, is that how much time and how much performance they can put on the car between now and the first race in Melbourne, which is just under 4 weeks away, that will decide whether he actually has the tools in his hands to challenge Sebastian Vettel for this year's World Championship. Will Ferrari do it? Well, I think they're feeling hopeful, if not overly confident.
Let's move on to Williams. They've been told that the exhaust designs on their car are illegal. How big a blow is that for them? It's
not a massive blow, but of course they wouldn't have put these exhausts with the design they have on them if they weren't giving them a performance advantage. So to be told that their interpretation of the rules isn't correct will be a disappointment for them. It might be a surprise because they've read the rules in a certain way and they thought that this was legal, whereas the FIA say, no, it isn't. So they'll have to take it off. It will lose them a little bit of speed, that's certain, but I think the positive thing for Williams, as far as they're concerned, is that they are, unlike Ferrari perhaps, in a position where their new car is a marked advantage, is marked improvement over last year. They have found, they think, their drivers say, almost 3/4 of a second per lap over last year's car. Now, you might say that they have more to find because they were further down the field than Ferrari or Red Bull last year. But I think we're going to see Williams really back to also head the midfield and solid performances that should see them go to the podium. I think wins are possibly beyond Williams unless we get a strange situation with the tyres this year. But they'll be feeling good about the test so far.
Well, Ted, not long to go now, just under 4 weeks. Thanks for joining us in Barcelona. Now to Formula One, and Mercedes have continued to impress on the second day of testing in Barcelona. Nico Rosberg topped the timesheets yesterday, but it was Lewis Hamilton at the wheel this morning. He surprised the paddock on the supposedly slower hard compound tyre by setting the early pace. But Red Bull hit back with Sebastian Vettel clocking a lap time over half a second quicker on the medium compound. Hamilton's replacement at McLaren, Sergio Perez, was third fastest, ahead of Fernando Alonso. Big story in the pit lane remains Williams and Caterham, though. They're seeking clarification from F1's governing body, the FIA, over the legality of their exhausts. No news from Force India either on who will join this man, Paul di Resta, on the grid for the 2013 season. Anna.
It's the second day of Formula One testing in Barcelona as teams continue their preparations ahead of the new season. It's now just 4 weeks away. Let's go live to my colleague Craig Slater, lucky fellow at the Circuit de Catalunya. Craig, good afternoon. What's been the story of today?
Well, the story's been sunshine and largely trouble-free running for most of the teams. It's so warm I've even taken my jacket off. As you can hear, cars still out on the track. We've got about a half an hour left of the session to go today, but no Force India car on the track, I'm afraid, at the moment. Deputy Team Principal Bob Fernley's here. Why is that, Bob? You've had to curtail your running today?
Yeah, we picked up a small crack in one of our exhaust systems, so we just need to deal with that.
But apart from that, how would you assess how you've got on since you've been here?
I think overall the whole test has been very reliable, so these are small things that you find. That's why we're testing.
A bit more on the test in a moment, but you have this big decision to make. We saw Adrian Sutil at the circuit today. He'll be in the car tomorrow. Jules Bianchi on Friday. Have you set a deadline? Can you set a deadline? When do you expect to name your second driver alongside Paul di Resta?
The one thing I can definitely guarantee you is we'll have two drivers for Melbourne.
I mean, you'd like to have someone by next week, surely. I mean, are you pressing for that?
Yeah, it would be good, but I mean, we're giving everybody the amount of mileage they need to make sure. We'll try and get all the information that we've been collecting over to the shareholders for this weekend, and then it's their decision.
I mean, in some places this week's been depicted as a kind of shootout between Bianchi and Sutil, but it's not for your benefit. You know enough about both guys. It's about giving them time. It's for their benefit that they're in the car this week, effectively.
Yeah, we want to make sure that it's an even playing field for everybody, and that more importantly, that they've got the opportunity to get used to the car, because obviously one of them will come through, and we don't want to disadvantage them in any way.
Is it about also maybe seeing how rusty he is for Adrian himself, to see how rusty he is? He has had a year out.
No, I don't think so. I mean, as you rightly say, we've got huge amounts of data on Adrian. Adrian was in the simulator last week. Yes, he'll be a little rusty, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is him just getting some miles under his belt.
Whether it's with you or whether it's with someone else, does he deserve another go at things? He wouldn't want his career to end on the note it was been suspended at, put it that way.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, we've always said that Adrian's been an absolutely super driver for us. The decisions that you make going forward are, at the time, and hopefully this is another opportunity. If not for us, then obviously it keeps the door open for other people.
Fair enough. But in terms of Paul and how he's getting on, is he finding similar kinds of findings as some of the other drivers are telling us, that these tyres are pretty hard to stop from degrading? I mean, are we expecting umpteen pit stops per race in the early part of the season?
Yes, I think it's certainly going to be a different game than we had last year, for sure. Particularly towards the end of last year, when you're looking at being able to do one-stop races. I think from what we can see at the moment, those are long memories. We won't be doing them again.
And in terms of who your rivals might be for next season, I know you want to make places up. Anything caught your eye in particular? Williams have had this controversial exhaust. If the FIA hadn't picked up on that, would you be on the phone to Charlie Whiting?
No, we wait till Melbourne.
I hope they keep it till Melbourne. But I mean, we're seeing evolutions across the board. So the midfield, you expect to be similarly competitive to the way it was last season?
I think it'll be even closer. As you say, the evolutions that have come on from all teams, and it'll be those that have just managed to squeeze that extra little bit out of it. But once again, we're going to have the challenge of the tyres. I mean, Pirelli are doing a great job in keeping us on our toes, and I think it will, give a few good results. Strategies will be different. The way that we approach races will be different. So I think, we're in for a very interesting first 4 races.
But although you can't know exactly where you stand in the pecking order, nothing that's happened thus far in terms of your development and how you're running shakes your belief that you can meet maybe your targets for this season. You're hoping to regain 6th minimally, maybe challenge for 5th?
No, we're very optimistic. I mean, the data that we're collecting and the work that Paul has done is very encouraging. But as you say, until we get to Melbourne, and A, we've done a qualifying session, and B, we've actually done a race, I don't think we'll really know where anybody is.
Bob, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for joining us. Yep. Frank, answers there from Bob Fernie with regard to what they're going to do about that second race seat next season. Someone who'll be very interested to know who's filling it will be Paul di Resta, the man who is confirmed here at Force India. We'll be hearing his views on that situation a little bit later on this evening on Sky Sports News.
Barcelona on this, the second day of Formula One testing ahead of the new season. A good day for Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton, who finished today 4th fastest. He's been speaking with our man Craig Slater.
A lot of measurement work the team was saying you were undertaking this morning. Because you're putting a lot into the development of this car, is it that bit more satisfying when you're doing it?
Yeah. I mean, the guys are working incredibly hard back at the factory, which is, and every time I go, it's just so encouraging to see the amount of work that's going in, and to see the atmosphere there, and see how determined everyone is and motivated. And that's the same here when you come to the garage. Everyone's just massively motivated to succeed, to improve, and that's what we're working towards. We're not really focusing on anyone else. We're just working on our program to try and make steps forward with our degradation and car setup. But it's going in the right direction. I'm really happy with today's. We've got 121 laps, so that's good.
I know it's early days, and we're all talking about the tyre degradation. Is there any concern that the exciting kind of racing that you're able to do in the likes of the American Grand Prix, that with this new Pirelli it might not be possible to do that kind of thing?
I can't really say, to be honest, because in the last test the tyres didn't behave so well, or at least the car wasn't behaving so well, and then we come here and the car's behaving better, the tyres are working a little bit better. You don't know what to expect when we get into the racing, Barcelona is always generally a good place to judge the tyres and the cars and downforce and speed and all those kind of things. But I guess time will tell. I hope that it still enables us to have some fun.
Just finally, upgrades in the pipeline for next week?
I believe so. Everyone brings upgrades, so it's nothing different to anyone else.
Craig Slater. Triple world champion Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton impressed on day 2 of testing at Barcelona, but it was Hamilton's replacement at McLaren, Sergio Perez, who was quickest at the Circuit de Catalunya. Hamilton returned to the Mercedes W04 after teammate Nico Rosberg's run on Tuesday, recording 121 laps to set the 4th fastest time on the slower, harder compound tyres.
Everyone's just massively motivated to succeed, to improve, and that's what we're working towards. We're not really focusing on anyone else. We're just working on our program to try and make steps forward with our degradation and car setup. But it's going in the right direction. I'm really happy with today's. We've got 121 laps, so that's good.
Well, Perez was the only man to record a lap time under 1 minute 22 seconds, posting the time after a short stint on soft tyres.
Today doesn't mean anything that we are in pole position, so we have to keep working. Jenson has 2 more days, which are very important, and then the last 4 days next week are going to be very important for the beginning of the season.
Well, Vettel finished 0.3 of a second behind Perez, but saw his RB9 encounter problems during the afternoon session, forcing him to sit out almost an hour. Fernando Alonso was almost a second and a half off Perez's pace, recording his fastest time on medium tyres to finish 5th. Force India's Paul di Resta was limited to just 62 laps after an exhaust system problem curtailed his day. It was all happening, wasn't it? Di Resta is yet to have his partner confirmed for the upcoming season, with Adrian Sutil driving for Force India on Thursday.
The one thing I can definitely guarantee you is we'll have two drivers for Melbourne.
I mean, you'd like to have someone by next week, surely. I mean, are you pressing for that?
Yeah, it would be good, but I mean, we're giving everybody the amount of mileage they need to make sure. We'll try and get all the information that we've been collecting over to the shareholders for this weekend, and then it's their decision.
Well, you can see
Lewis Hamilton impressed on day 2 of testing at Barcelona, but it was Hamilton's replacement at McLaren's Sergio Perez who was quickest at the Circuit de Catalunya.
Is Lewis Hamilton's new team definitely his cup of tea? In these early days, he's taking things step by step. Here in Barcelona, maximising track time was his first priority. The new Mercedes is very much a work in progress, and on Hamilton's first morning here, work was the operative word. It was filled with measurement tests, lap after lap of them. He'd show his pace too, especially on the hard tyres, and end the day 4th fastest.
Everyone's just massively motivated to succeed, to improve, and that's what we're working towards. We're not really focusing on anyone else. We're just working on our program to try and make steps forward with our degradation and car setup. But it's going in the right direction. I'm really happy with today's. We've got 121 laps, so that's good.
Even with track conditions improving, tyre degradation was still the big issue. In one 8-lap stint on the hard compound, Hamilton's lap times increased by 4.5 seconds. For a driver noted for his aggression are those worrying statistics.
All the tyres generally have degradation, and so looking after them is not that easy, but that's normal.
Hamilton predicted the team he left would have a car to contend for the driver's title. Could the man who replaced him even prove that contender? Sergio Perez topped the timesheets at the end of day 2. Are we going to have to get used to your name being in the #1 position?
I hope so, yes.
I mean, how good do you think this car can be in qualifying in particular? How excited are you about what you could do?
At the moment, I think we don't really know. All I know and all the team knows that we got a lot of work to do ahead of the first race. We have to find downforce, we need to find lap time, and I think we are going in the right direction.
Sebastian Vettel ended the day 2nd fastest, having completed 84 laps and some pit stop practice. He now has just 2 more days of driving before he begins the defence of his title in Melbourne. Craig Slater, Sky Sports, Barcelona.